Welcome back to WaveCast, the official podcast of the Marine Institute of Memorial University. My name is Eugenie, and I have not been back for a while, but I am still here. I am a PhD student studying Arctic fish ecology, and I'm very excited about this episode because we are diving into one of the biggest fieldwork opportunities that working at the Marine Institute has allowed me to take part of. Today we're going to be talking about this year's Amundsen expedition through the Labrador Sea and the Canadian Arctic. So the CCGS Amundsen is a Canadian Coast Guard icebreaker that performs icebreaking operations in the Gulf of the St. Lawrence and the Saguenay Fjord in the wintertime and is based in Quebec City. The vessel was built in 1979 and then was modernized extensively. I put that in brackets because that's important to mention. Apparently it was extensive into an Arctic research science vessel in 2003 and then renamed the Amundsen because it was originally named the Franklin. The vessel can carry 2,471 cubic meters of diesel fuel, and it has a range of 35,000 nautical miles at a speed of 14 knots. And the autonomy of the vessel, so meaning that the vessel can stay at sea for 100 days. The vessel itself is 98 meters. There is 1 helicopter, 2 Zodiacs, 1 barge, 22 laboratories, 40 scientific berths, 40 Coast Guard berths. And so in total, we have about 80 people moving around the ship for about 28 days at a time. So this year, the scientific cruise lasted 112 days, and it started actually here in St. John's and traveled as high as the Lincoln Sea, and then it ended back in Quebec City at the end of October. And of course, if you want more details about the specific operations of things that we were doing and how this all comes together, you can also go back and listen to our very first episode because we get a lot more into the nitty-gritty in that one. And we have 2 familiar faces that are joining us again. We have Ashley Oates, a master's student in fisheries science and technology, as well as Gabrielle Perugini, also a master's student in fisheries science and technology. And now we are joined by 2 new faces, Laure Vilgrain, who is a post-doctoral fellow working with Dr. Maxime Geoffroy, our supervisor of both Gabby, Ashley, and I, as well as Charlie Nakashuk, who is a science support technician with the Canadian Wildlife Service, who was working with DFO and joined our team, actually, who has been part of our team now for the last 2 years. And so we were very excited that the timing worked out and that he could join the podcast. Well, welcome everybody to the podcast. I'm so excited that we get to do a part 2 of the Amundsen recap with the same faces, Ashley and Gabby. You were here last time. And then we also have 2 new faces. We have Laure and we have Charlie. So before we get into it, Ashley, do you want to start and say a little bit about yourself and which leg that you were on?
Yeah. So I'm Ashley Oates, and I'm a master's student here at Marine Institute working with Max. I'm just finishing up my master's here now. I'm studying northern shrimp in Baffin Bay. And
what leg were you on?
I was on leg 2.
Okay, so that was the leg that went to the Labrador Sea, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Labrador Sea, and we were also part of Kebab Line.
In Baffin Bay?
Yeah.
Okay. And Gabby, what about you?
I'm Gabrielle Perugini. I'm also a master's student here at the Marine Institute, and I'm studying larval capelin survival and growth in Trinity Bay. So my research actually isn't on or related to the Amundsen, but I went for funsies and to help all of my peers. So yeah, I was on leg 5, A.
Yeah, so we were together on the last one.
Yeah.
Which we'll talk about later.
Yeah.
Okay, Laure.
Hello. So my name is Laure Vilgrain. It's really a French name. I'm a postdoc fellow here at the Marine Institute, also with Maxime Geoffroy. And I'm working on mesozooplankton ecology, especially in the Labrador Sea. And I'm funded by the government of Nunavut. So yeah, so I was part on leg 2, especially to work on this part. And then I had the chance to go also on leg 3, more like a bonus leg, and learned a lot of things over there too.
Mm-hmm. So you did 2 months, 1 month back to back.
Hello.
My name is Charlie. I'm not a master's or whatever student. I went on the Amundsen helping DFO, and they gave me to the Nets people to help. And I was on leg 2B, only 10-day cruise, which is sort of.
But you were on previous years.
and I was on previous 2 years before that.
Charlie, one of the things I wanted to say before we move on is so who do you work with? Because you're based in Iqaluit, but what's the organization that was partnered with DFO for you to come on the Amundsen?
It was just regular DFO. They hired me, but my work right now is with Canadian Wildlife Service. We deal with protected areas in the northern region, like migratory bird sanctuaries and national wildlife areas. We deal with birds a lot, and our focus is on birds in the north, migratory birds.
Maybe we can recap a bit for the audience about what the whole goal of this year's Amundsen expedition, because we have people that are on every single leg of these expeditions, which means that we have coverage across the whole entire summer season. So Laure, do you maybe want to talk about what we were trying to do this year? Like, what were we sampling for? What were the goals? Where did we go?
So yes, it's really interesting because the Amundsen is a boat that perform research for 4 months, and that many teams can go on to work on different things. So I think that the first part was mainly managed by DFO people that works in Nunatia waters. So I think it's to better know the ecosystem and to understand inshore, offshore processes, and also because it's a place with many marine conservation areas, so it's really useful to go in this place. Then the second part in Baffin Bay is also managed more by DFO, and it's I think it's a cruise that go every year to manage the environment and to know how how all the ecosystem, like physics, biology, will impact fisheries at quite long term. And then there were some last legs that were focused on really high Arctic environments and that were kind of unique. It was a project only for 2 years to go in high Arctic fjords and Lincoln Sea, which is of course impacted by climate change. So I guess it was the main focus at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And then there were 5, but you will talk more about it. Yes, there were TCA too, so a new program that is also, so it's called Target Climate Action, so mostly to work on climate impact on the environment.
Mm-hmm.
But this, maybe you would talk better about that.
I mean, I think, we can definitely talk about that. You said that so well. Yeah. Wow. I didn't know some of those things. So I wanted to say too, that we went to the Lincoln Sea also, and we went there last year and then we went back again this year. And the Lincoln Sea, for those listening, is the sea right above northern Greenland, which has the last of the multi-year sea ice. So now we've been able to go to these regions more for obvious reasons. Well, loss of sea ice, of course. But and I think in your leg, did they recover the mooring that was put there? Okay, so last year when we traveled to the Lincoln Sea, and this is why it's important to go back every year, is that we deploy these moorings that sit on the seafloor that have these instruments that can take this passive data. So your acoustics, your hydrophones too, which I think is really interesting. I don't remember what the other ones, sediment traps.
Yeah, sediment traps and currents. There is a ADCP, which is an instrument just to measure the strength and the direction of the currents. Yeah, it was, and I was really lucky. I had the chance to go on the Zodiac to take this sediment trap, to film and so on, and it was really impressive.
We'll keep moving through the different legs. So Ashley and Charlie, you were on leg 2.
Yeah.
How was that for you?
Leg 2 was really interesting. Although I wasn't a part of it, but they did a lot of sending down ROVs, and we were able to watch the cameras, which was really interesting to see the seafloor, which would also be what we are sampling sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just interesting, I guess, to see it from a different perspective. We did a lot of fish sampling and zooplankton sampling, which would kind of be related to my project, as I was using hydrobias data.
Mm-hmm. Which is a big multi-net, has 9 zooplankton nets on it. It's a pain to put in the water. Let us all just say that now.
Yeah, it takes
but very cool data.
Stratified data. It was nice to see Charlie again, although he was only part of leg to be. So we didn't get to see him as long this time, but he's a great help. It was just nice meeting a lot of new people, and I never saw the Labrador Sea before, so it was nice leaving from St. John's and then being able to sail up there. And I'm looking at using the data from the Labrador Sea as well, so it was nice to see it in person.
Yeah. We said this last year, and I think we should say it again this year. So to be clear, our group, we do the zooplankton and the fish sampling. So we have, I think it's, 5 nets that we have. We have a midwater trawl, we have a benthic beam trawl, a small little one, and then we have 2 different types of zooplankton nets, and then we have, 3, and then the third one is this big 9 multi-net system that we put down into the water. And like Ashley was saying, it takes stratas of all the different zooplankton, which is a pretty incredible thing. And we spend a lot of time on deck, way more than I think a lot of other people.
We do, yeah.
Like 4 hours sometimes.
Yeah.
Like
It's
2
a
to
known
4.
fact, yeah.
And you just do the whole suite of nets, which is, 3 usually. But Charlie, I wanted to ask you, because you said that when you first got on the Amundsen, and we worked together, what was it, in 2022, I think? So from my experience, you were on the ship and you were just sort of like testing out the different groups that you wanted to go to. And then you landed with us, with the fish and zooplankton team, and you said, yeah, those people are cool, and I want to join their team. Was it the people, or was it the nets, or what was it that you liked about working on the net team?
Honestly,
Oh,
Give us the truth, Charlie.
You were cool. Go for it, Charlie.
just kidding. It was like a bit of everything, I guess. I really like what we caught on the nets. Those were so interesting, and like preparing for because it took long hours, and then sorting them. That was so much fun. Sometimes, most times. But I also liked the rosette, which collects water from different depths of the ocean. I help with those too. But when I got to I was super shy at first because I'm shy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Me too.
But when I got to know you guys, I just had so much more fun, and yeah, I forgot the question.
Well, you answered something. I think that's great. But I'm going to ask you another question, which is, for you who you do more migratory birds and sort of more land work. So what was it like for you, to see those fish that we would catch? Because some of them are pretty weird looking. Was that the first time you had ever seen them? And was there a fish that you saw that really stood out to you?
Yeah, I never a lot of those fish we caught. I never seen. I didn't even know they were in the Arctic waters, even though I'm from there. But my favorite one was that big ass.
Oh, please go with that.
I mean, really big snailfish. That very big one, that was super cool. And
It had shrimp in its mouth.
Was that on?
I think it was on with
okay.
Gabby.
And the cute little lumpfish, they were super cute. There was a bunch of fish we caught that were super interesting, like that one vibrates. Alligator fish.
Or Atlantic poacher, one of them.
Oh.
Yeah.
Those those were cool.
Charlie is always sad when there is not enough nets or not enough time on the deck.
Yeah, Charlie is the hardest working out of all of us. Just wants to be out there. Gabby, what was leg 5 like for you? Did you enjoy your time? What did you learn? Did you see anything? Did anything stand out to you?
It was good. I was on leg 2 last year, so I kind of came into this having some expectations of what the boat was going to be like. But it was good. Honestly, I think the best thing about it is the people on board. So I got stuck with some pretty good people. I had Eugenie as my roommate, which was good. But yeah, it was nice. I would say it was about the same amount of nets as last year, same kind of intensity.
Mm-hmm.
It was good. Food was great. Cookies were abundant on this leg.
Yeah.
Loved that.
Maybe we should talk about so our leg our leg was split into two different parts. So we had the first part, which was part of what Laure was saying, the TCA new project. So we had this giant transect line, and I remember seeing the plans come in for it. And I was like, oh my God, we're not going to sleep for like 9 days.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it wasn't that far off. I mean, we were fine, and it was okay.
Yeah.
It was a lot.
Yeah.
And we ended up going we started in Resolute, and then we went down in Lancaster Sound for like one little transect, and then we basically came out at like around Pond Inlet, and then we went straight across into central Baffin Bay and then up into sort of the northern Greenland area, which is a very large amount of ground to cover.
Yeah.
But we had, I wanted to say, and I'm kind of taking over the question, but we got to see some pretty cool things actually where we were. I found like there's two very different systems that we were able to go through, like you have the Arctic systems, and then we also got to see this Atlantic water system too. And so we got to see this like almost wall where things were very different. The biology looked very different on either side. And that I hadn't even seen that before, because in previous years, you don't get to go that high north across sort of thing. But yeah, at every level, we got to see these changes. And so it sort of reminded us that there's these very like geographic or biogeographic differences even that far up north in the Arctic. And
yeah. And I think this like when you're saying like more Atlantic influence, like we saw a lot of helmet jellyfish this leg.
Yeah.
Is that an Atlantic species?
The helmet jellyfish are these jellyfish that they're so weird. They look very alien-like, and they have a very hard, almost like a cartilage helmet. Yeah. And then with these long like tentacles. I know everyone here knows, we've already seen them, but I'm just explaining for the audience members.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Is it the one with the purple inside?
Correct.
Yeah.
And it looks like a hat.
But yes, so the helmet jellyfish are becoming more abundant in the Arctic. And generally it could be related to changes it's probably related to water temperatures, big one, less of sea ice. Any kind of climate-driven changes is influencing their distribution and abundance. So that's actually, jellyfish are my favorite things. So I'm really excited whenever we get to find them. But yeah.
Can I prompt a question?
Yeah.
Can you tell us about, because I love the zooplankton recorder that you guys use where you shoot photos of zooplankton. Can you explain that?
No, I'm so glad I'm in this team where we are sampling real fish and real zooplankton. But before and still now, I'm used to work with an instrument that is called the underwater vision profiler, which is a profiler that is on the rosette that goes into vertical profiles deep in the water, and that acquires pictures about every 5 centimeters. And it's a way to picture marine snow and plankton. Of course, plankton is more rare, but it's really interesting. And so at the end, we can really have a picture, for example, of a jelly, and we know the exact depth of where it is, and because it's on the rosette, we can also know exactly the temperature, the fluorescence, other oceanographic variables associated. So it's really fun, and also I think it helps to better understand the environment when you can really see stuff deep. So it's fun, and it's really good to take pictures of copepods, which are the more abundant, and good to work on them.
Mm-hmm. And also I think it's nice because because it goes on the rosette, it's opportunistic in a way, right? Like it uses that like passive data collection where we don't actually have to fish out all of the zooplankton or fish from a water column, so that's also really big
advantage. It's really good, and it's allowed to have a really high resolution, because as you can do a cast every time a rosette is in the water, at the end you have like almost millions of images. So I just put them on. So we have a web platform where we we store and sort all the images. And just for leg 3, we had almost 2 million images.
Whoa.
Wow. For leg 5, I think it's like 1 million, about 1 million, and leg 2, 1 million too. And which is really surprising is that there was much more images in in fjords, in high Arctic fjords, than in the deep Baffin Bay, which was surprising to me because I thought that if the profile is really long and goes until 2,000 of meters, I would expect a lot of images. But in fact, there is a lot of images in fjord because so many carbon exports, so many particles, so many turbidity of the water. So it's where there is the most stuff.
So does it take more photos if there's more animals in the water? Or is it just a time interval based photo?
It's not time, but there is a frequency of acquisition of photos. So it's the same amount of photos, but just it takes one picture that is about like a paper sheet, like the size, and then it automatically segments every object that are in this picture according to gray levels. So if there is a lot, they will segment many stuff. Like for example, 1,000. If there is few things in the water, only like 100 will appear or something like that. So that's why we have more photos if there is more particles.
So I want to jump in here and talk a little bit about some of the research questions that we were trying to answer this year. And maybe a good way of doing that is talking about where my PhD research comes into it. And so we've talked about the different nets that we use. So we have 2 different kinds of fish nets, and then we have 3 different kinds of plankton nets. And essentially, for one of my projects, what I'm trying to do is look back through time from those original samples that we got in 2003 in order to create this understanding of species composition. So what I mean by that is I am trying to figure out where are all the fish and why are they there? What drives their distribution and their abundance? Is it the sea ice? Is it the plankton? Is it the presence of predators? And essentially I'm trying to, just like any ecologist, find these truths in nature. Now for other projects, for example, like with Ashley's project, she is doing very similar things. So she's looking at northern shrimp abundance and the drivers of their abundance. So essentially she's saying northern shrimp are thriving in southern Baffin Bay and there is a fishery there. And she's trying to figure out, well, why are they so successful here? And then if these conditions were to be met a bit higher north, could that then become a new northern shrimp fishery? So we can use these questions to then apply them to important questions that we're asking from more of a human perspective. I wanted to, and this was kind of going to be more my end of questions, but I'm just curious because I feel like everyone's going to have a lot to say about this one. What are things that you have learned about yourself by working out at sea? Or things that you've just learned in general? It could be about yourself or just skills that you've developed that you maybe didn't think that you were going to.
Le cul de chalut.
Go for it. I would say the importance of collaboration in science. I think that's the biggest thing that I noticed is, coming from my undergrad to my master's, I felt a very individual focused stream of science where it's like you do your own research, you stay in your lane, et cetera, et cetera. But on the Amundsen, it's a very collaborative research vessel and you can learn a lot from different people. And it kind of just goes to show we're all out here for the data. We're all interested in different things, but working together is a very important thing in science, I believe. I think we learn a lot more because everyone has a different perspective on the same thing. Mm-hmm. Everyone knows something different about the same thing. So I think utilizing that in science is really important. And I learned that for sure on board.
Mm-hmm.
I totally agree with Gabby. I think a good example of this to me, because it's when you have to deploy nets in places that are not well mapped, or that there is ice, which I had the chance or the fear to experience. You have always to speak with the bosun, which is the responsible of all the crew members on deck, and who is himself talking to the bridge, and it's like a triangle, and you're always deciding time to time, and you see that the conversation and the collaboration at really small time scale is so important, not to break things, not to do mistakes, and I never felt as much as collaborative work at that moment. Mm-hmm. And also when we are tired, we have all to think how the others are feeling, to evaluate it and to work better together, to have breaks, and it's so, when we do that well, it's so cute, and we are doing that really good, and it's grateful. Mm-hmm. Grateful. I don't know how to say. Gratifiant en français.
Perfect. Believe it.
Gratifying.
Yeah. Well, I think that what you said, Laure, also speaks, and what Gabby, you just said too, is there's collaboration within science. There's also collaboration with the Coast Guard crew because they have a lot of knowledge about these areas. And then also, Charlie, you have another perspective on that, given that you're from the Arctic.
I don't know. Like, it's a big collaboration. I feel like there. How do I say it without sounding not whatever? But like science in the north, I feel like it also needs like help from the people up there, and not just like how I help you guys, but like a lot of the, I guess, knowledge holders know a lot about the things that are changing up there, and how do I say it? But like collaborating with scientists has starting to be more,
Like normalized?
I think so. Like Inuit helping with the Inuit knowledge of the North, and like science people coming up here, but I feel like what the Amundsen is doing is only on some parts of it, where most parts of it, I guess, Inuit knowledge is not really needed, because like we don't know anything about, I will swear, zooplanktons and stuff. Like we only know about them because of school. Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe.
I liked
Anymore.
hearing about, like, on the ship, your perspective sometimes, because you grew up there, like you had already knowledge on some of the fish and just with the way of life. And it was just interesting to tie that all together.
To add to that too, I think we talk a lot about time scales or scales even of things. And the thing too is maybe you might not see those kinds of, like the snailfish, for example. You said you grew up there, but you've never seen that fish before. And I had the same experience when I went to the community in Nain. I was talking to them about snailfish and they said, oh, those are weird things. We throw them back. We don't know anything about those. And I think that it's like everyone has like a piece of the puzzle. And you might say something like, oh, well, a couple of years ago, we had a really cold summer and it was unusual. But maybe that might tie into why maybe certain fish weren't there that certain year, or maybe why there was a boom in 2 years after. So everyone has their own perspective on time scales. And so maybe it wasn't necessarily related to the zooplankton, but even things like changes in color of the water, well, that's directly related to phytoplankton, but no one's going around normally with like a microscope taking little samples. That's a little weird, right? So, but those kinds of things, those big picture things, you have a lot more knowledge than a lot of other people. So
What was the
What
question?
did you learn from being on board
What did I learn? I think
about yourself, or
what I learned about myself is I can have patience.
with me?
But I learned patience and understanding of like the world, the sea world around me better, work with people better, all this amazing wildlife that I never knew existed. And it can be fun even if you're confined to one small vessel with the same people every day. And you don't really get tired of them sometimes.
that is a great answer. Sometimes. I just that was the last word. Ashley, how do you feel about that? Because the two of you are together all the time. So how do you feel about the sometimes comment?
I feel like no, I feel like me and Charlie get along well, but yeah, I test his patience at times, maybe.
You've taught him patience.
I've taught
not just Charlie's.
I can be a bit clumsy in the workplace. Okay. What did I learn?
Mm-hmm.
I learned, I don't know, I guess I came from like a more like a freshwater fish background. So like coming on the Amundsen was like a huge learning curve. It was very like hands-on. So I got to learn more the marine side of things, work with fish I've mainly just worked with like salmon and trout. So it was cool to get to handle different species, and learn firsthand things that related to my project. It was also, like you learn how to be really like reliable and dependable because of the constantly changing schedule. So you have to really keep others in mind as well, like the crew who are waiting for you on board, and just learning well to work with others because you have to. And it was a great experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I everything that everyone said, I think really captures it quite well. We talk like collaboration, being understanding, being patient. There are 80 people on this boat for 28 days-ish, 80 people-ish. And so many people come with different backgrounds and experiences, and some people have a certain way that they do certain things, and it might not mesh with other people. Sometimes that doesn't happen at all, or so it's every day. Like we all have to be very resilient and adaptable, and we also have to like remind ourselves to have fun along the way too, and make time for giggling and laughing. And I think that Charlie, out of everything and helping the net team, you also have helped so much with the humor and bringing like a great attitude to the team, and so that's why we're really happy to have you. So is there something that you would like to share that we maybe didn't touch on about the Amundsen, about this experience, about maybe some of the instruments?
Well, I also did on the ship was ESAS. It was, oh no, I forget the acronym for it, but it's basically counting seabirds at sea survey. It's a seabirds at sea survey. So on the ship when it's moving, we would record every bird we seen, every species if we know it. Most of them we do because we know them because we're bird people. And is Vegas is sent to someone and they analyze data and estimate bird patterns and population. I think it was. Those are pretty fun because you get to see a lot of northern farmers. They follow ships all the time, like all kinds of ships and boats. You want to say something?
I want you to finish. Sorry,
Oh.
I had to have a question after.
Dove keys, and thick-billed murres. Those were a lot of the species we saw when we were out there. But when we were close to land, we saw like glaucous gulls, ivory gulls. Not ivory. We've seen a couple ivory gulls which are endangered. They're super pretty white gulls with like black feet and black beak. They're endangered in Canada. But there's all kinds of birds out there that are interesting. You would see like in random birds that would come at night because of the lights, like migrating birds like Lapland longspurs. Those are small birds that just travel super far. And snow buntings. And then we had like some stowaways like cliff sparrows, I think. Cliff sparrows were pretty interesting.
Do you think there's places like that where we can learn from like traditional knowledge of like what animals like we should and shouldn't be disturbing and stuff? Like, do you think there's like pockets of that we could incorporate into Amundsen science?
Where you can find traditional knowledge is like there's a lot of it on the internet now, and there's lots of websites now that are coming up with like scientific research done within the northern region. I don't know if traditional knowledge is incorporated in many of them, but it's super cool to websites that show a map. I forget what's the website name.
Siku. Is it Siku?
CQ app is for like a hunter social media, I guess. But like in that app, you'll see lots of people where what they caught and where they caught it, and like the conditions of the area they were hunting. But there's also other apps, not apps, websites that show you where all the research have done in the north. So there's apps you can use, like the Seco app, which has hunters on it mainly, and they take pictures of their catch, what they collected, where they collected it, what the condition was of that area. And people usually take pictures of like their front yard or whatever of the ice, see, like to show it's forming, stuff like that. With traditional knowledge, I think you can look online mostly, but some sources are not that good. And I think knowing people really helps with that.
So like do you think like the outreach programs like people are doing, like scientific outreach, like going into communities and talking about the knowledge, like is helpful?
Yes. I feel like that's happening a lot more than it used to. And like a lot of science, they have to be reported back to the community that they ask permission for, because you need permission. A lot of times you need permission to do work up north. So, and it's good to, like, people present their findings or like what they did that year, reports.
On the same subject, I'm sorry, Charlie, we are all asking questions to you, but I know that Amundsen Science is doing a lot of effort like that to work with communities. I know that there were on Lake 2, on Lake 2, there were a rosette operator that came from Gohaven, I guess.
Yeah,
Oh.
It was so nice. What do you think, Charlie, that it's enough? I guess not. But what can we do to work more with communities, with the Amundsen especially? Because, yeah, like you were the only Inuit that comes with us to work, and I feel it's too bad. And do you think we should do that more? And would we be happy, or what do you think about that?
It's good that like Inuit get hired, at least one Inuit get hired to like help out and to broaden their horizon of like the north. DFO hires people for their lakes, and I think Amundsen Science hires people now.
I think it's better, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think there's anything more that can be done?
Could there? There's always room for improvements on anything. But like what they are doing now, I think is good. And if they want to improve it, they can. But like I don't see any major flaw in their system right now.
I would just like to say that Charlie is wicked with board games. Yeah, and I don't think I've ever won a game against Charlie. So if anyone goes on board with him, just keep that in mind. You will be humbled.
And also the trivia nights that like
Trivia.
Ashley and Charlie are like, you can't beat them.
We're an unstoppable trivia force.
Yeah, what do you have to say about that, Charlie? Why are you so good at board games?
I don't know, because I'm smart, I guess.
He has really good mental math.
Cut that out, Eugenie.
But I like to think, and playing like strategic games and stuff is so much fun. And on the ship, I've learned, because I don't really like team games, because I like to win.
True.
But there's been a couple games that were introduced to me that are team games, and those were so much fun. But yeah,
I'm a dead weight to Charlie when it comes to game partner.
Yeah, because I'm smart, Gabby.
I have no idea. This podcast has...
Can I segue?
Yeah.
I want to say this because I think it made me really happy, and I feel like everyone here, I don't know, could really, maybe not. But when I was on board, I was posting videos and photos of all the things that we caught in our trawls. And one of my old friends from university was like, I showed my parents that. I think that is so cool. And I think we take for granted that we're in the Arctic. Not a lot of people, unless you live there or are born there, get to visit the Arctic. And for us, it's like, oh, we're going again next summer. Oh, plan. But I think we should take a step back and be like, this is a crazy experience that not a lot of people get to experience. So I think doing podcasts or even sharing photos or sending them to your family or posting them online is important exposure, because some people would love that. And, it's tough to get the chance. I mean, there's opportunities. You can work through Amundsen Science or, DFO or stuff like that. But I think we should all be like, wow, we worked in the Arctic. That's pretty cool.
It's true. It's a very good reminder. And before we want to end today, I would really like to echo what Gabby said, because she said it so well. And that really, it is a privilege to work on the Amundsen and, of course, to experience the magnificent Arctic landscapes and to have the privilege of studying in the homelands of the Inuit of Nunatsiavut as well as Nunavut. And of course, thank you to our guests for joining this week's episode. If you have questions for anyone on the show, or if you have suggestions for future episodes, you can send an email always to wavecast@mi.mun.ca. And this will actually be our last episode before we end for the holiday season. So we wish you all a wonderful end to the year 2024, and we will see you back in 2025.